This video is brought to you by Battlezoo Eldamon. This expansion to Pathfinder 2nd Edition and D&D 5e is a Pokemon-style rule set that will allow all players to collect, befriend, train, and evolve 160 different Eldamon. Battlezoo Eldamon is coming to Kickstarter on July 26th. Hey everybody, today I have for you a preview of the new Dark Archive for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Two quick notes before I get too deep into this. First, I should let you know that I was provided a copy of this book by Paizo, and second, I don't want this video to be confused with a full review. So let me say up front that although I have read through the book, I have not had an opportunity to see all of its contents played out on the game table, and what follows is intended to give you an idea of the book's contents and not my opinion of its value as you might expect from a full and proper review. Dark Archive is 226 pages from cover to cover and has a cover price of $54.99. This length and price point put it in the same category as other recently released rulebooks such as Book of the Dead and Secrets of Magic. The PDF version of the Dark Archive may also be purchased online for $14.99. Dark Archive could be considered to be Pathfinder 2nd Edition's paranormal adventure guide, not entirely unlike how the Occult Adventures book was for 1st edition. It is divided into two broad sections called the Archivist's Training Manual and the Stolen Case Files. The Archivist's Training Manual is roughly 50 pages long and introduces two new classes, the Psychic and Thaumaturge. Psychics are spellcasters who weave their spells not with incantations, but by sheer force of will. Although they're still casting spells and working magic, the way they do so is more Professor X and less Doctor Strange. Specifically, they cast occult spells and perform psychic spellcasting, which in itself is a form of spontaneous spellcasting. With psychic spellcasting, verbal spell components are changed to a special mental component that varies slightly depending on the psychic's subconscious mind option that's selected during character creation. For example, one psychic might silently repeat mantras in their head in place of verbal components, while another might use their imagination to shape into a spell. In addition to casting occult spells, psychics also have an ability called Unleash Psyche that allows them to sort of power up for a limited time. And in addition to spells on the occult spell list, psychics can also cast a whole host of new cantrips with the psychic trait, as well as new applications of traditional spells. The second new class is Thaumaturge. The Thaumaturge has a bit of a Witcher feel to it. They intensely study the supernatural in monsters to uncover their weaknesses and exploit them in battle. Each Thaumaturge also begins play with one special implement that's both a badge they wear and their primary tool to fight the supernatural. Dark Archive provides rules for 9 different Thaumaturge implements: Amulet, Bell, Chalice, Lantern, Mirror, Regalia, Tome, Wand, and Weapon. As you would expect, this book also provides multi-class archetypes for both of the new classes. Following this, the remainder of the book is organized as an adventure that spans 3rd to 12th level and is broken up into 8 segments, each of which introduces a new paranormal topic and player options before adding the next chapter of the adventure. This starts with a section on cryptids and other strange creatures, strange occult monsters that leave their survivors altered in some way. This is represented by a dozen new aftermath feats. For example, those who have encountered an Azada in some meaningful way gain access to the Elysium's Cadence feat, and those who have bargained with a devil may gain the Devil's Eye feat. This section also includes monster adjustments for different types of cryptids. Experimental cryptids are common monsters who have been alchemically enhanced in a lab. Mutant cryptids are bizarre offshoots of a common monster. Primeval cryptids are long-thought extinct variations of a monster, and rumored cryptids have been altered by the weight of collective belief in their existence. The book also provides about 10 new feats related to cryptids before transitioning into the first chapter of the new adventure, which I will not be spoiling here. The next section dives into the topic of secret societies. This section discusses the lore of a number of groups that interact with the occult, such as the Cat and Mouse Society and the Esoteric Order of the Palatine Eye. This section also provides 8 new skill feats for those trained in occult, followed by guidance on creating NPCs who belong to secret societies and special gear. It then gets into how secret societies function and the services they provide before transitioning into that next chapter of the adventure. The third case file dives into Deviant Abilities, which are basically powers that defy explanation and traditional understanding. Guidance is provided for creating Deviant Abilities for players, which are further supported by about 15 new feats. Most of these feats provide a base ability followed by one or more awakening ability, which must be purchased separately. For example, someone who survives an intense encounter with a wraith might develop wraith-like deviant abilities. Such a character could take the Eerie Flicker feat, which allows them to spend a reaction to gain concealment against an attack. The character could later take the Awakened Power feat to also gain one of the 2 awakening abilities associated with the Eerie Flicker feat, and take the Awakened Power feat once more to gain the other. This section closes out with 18 new spells before transitioning into the third chapter of the adventure. The fourth case file deals with mirrors and imposters and introduces a new versatile heritage called Reflection. Reflections are duplicates of other characters. Maybe they're from another timeline, or the result of a teleportation spell gone wrong, or even a clone. 15 new ancestry feats are provided to allow reflection characters to lean into their concept, whether it be as a magical duplicate or insidious imposter. This section also provides a new archetype, the Alter Ego. Alter Egos are masters of disguise and are more likely to avoid detection by blending in than by sneaking through shadows. And as expected, this case ends with the 4th chapter of the Dark Archives adventure. The 5th case file is about cults. This chapter gives us another new archetype, the Living Vessel. Living Vessels are mediums for powerful otherworldly creatures like gods and the great old ones of Lovecraftian mythology. Living Vessels are bound to another entity that they must appease in exchange for power. This chapter also provides a number of new apocryphal domain spells, which can be selected in place of a domain's usual initial or advanced focus spells to represent a lesser known or more underground aspect of a deity. And of course, no discussion of cults would be complete without a half-dozen new rituals. Following another chapter of the adventure, the next section of the archive discusses the consequences of curses, pacts, and bargains. This includes a new packed witch patron, cursed items, a handful of new curses that include tempted versions, a series of contracts to tempt players with, and the Pact Binder and the Curse Maelstrom. Pact Binders strike deals with strange and alien entities to gain power. For example, if a Pact Binder strikes a deal with the Fae, they could select the Pact of Fae Glamour feat, which allows them to change their appearance, and in exchange for that, they have to provide food and lodging for up to 3 days to visiting Fae. And Curse Maelstroms are characters who are so cursed and otherworldly unlucky that they learn to harness their curses and use them to their advantage. This leads into another chapter of the adventure, and following that, the 7th case file deals with temporal anomalies and time magic. I already have a deep dive preview of this chapter, which I will link to in this video's description, but in brief, this section adds a dozen new spells that deal with time manipulation and 2 new archetypes to use them, the Time Mage and the Chrono Skimmer. Time Mages practice chronomancy and as such have a number of feats that allow them to manipulate time, speed it up so negative effects end sooner, peer into alternate futures to choose the best path, summon versions of themselves from other timelines, and so on. Chrono Skimmers are more martial focused characters. They have their own time-based abilities that allow them to do things like rewind time briefly to retry a failed skill, or summon visions of themselves from other timelines to grant flanking during battle. and this section also includes one new Oracle mystery for time. This mystery allows Oracles to manipulate their place in initiative and gain a bonus to speed, but risk curses that apply the enfeebled and slowed conditions. Following this is another chapter of the adventure before moving on to the final topic of the book, Mind Escapes. This section of the book deals with the astral plane and related mental projections. This includes a couple of new rituals and comprehensive new rules for psychic duels. 3 new archetypes are also provided here, starting with the Psychic Duelist, which is a fairly brief archetype that provides 3 feats in addition to its dedication. Mindsmiths can focus their mental projections into physical objects ranging from blades to mind bullets like Wonder Boy, and the last new archetype is Sleepwalker, who can enter and manipulate dreams. And naturally, the book closes with the final chapter of the adventure. That should give you a pretty good idea of what you can expect with the Dark Archive when it officially releases on July 27th. Let me know in the comments what you think of this new format of alternating between new player material and brief adventure scenarios that feature that player material. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the book, and as always, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.